Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman in studio today. Kev, we do offer some apologies. We were supposed to have on Peter Swindell or Kyle Smith, former New Canaan lacrosse alumni, now playing at the Division I level. Swindell with Loyola Maryland and Smith out at Denver with the Pioneers. Unfortunately, they are coaching an Eclipse team up in a lacrosse tournament, Lake Placid right now. They are in lightning delay at the moment. It is unlikely that they'll be able to come onto the phone with us today now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was actually just looking back, Kyle Smith, of course, on the Denver Pioneers, and looking back at that great matchup that they had against Maryland in that NCAA tournament over Memorial Day weekend up at Gillette Stadium. You remember that game? Denver had an opportunity to tie the game up, and they had that crease violation call with 9.8 seconds left, and it led Maryland to win that game. Of course, we know what happens after that. Maryland goes on to win the national championship, but this is a Denver team that is really rising. I think Kyle Smith is going to be one of those players that, come around maybe next year, his senior year, once he gets that, maturity and that playing time, and he's going to be a big force for that Denver Pioneer team. And as far as Peter Swindell goes, looking over what he did at New Canaan as well, another gifted athlete. You look at that Loyola team, it's pretty stacked with some guys from the 203 county, from Fairfield County. So you get to see that. He's also posted on social media, too, that they get to hang out with each other. So you see the chemistry between the guys on Loyola who are all from, around Fairfield County, the Connecticut area, even some guys from Long Island. So it's cool to see that these guys are doing big things at the Division I level.
And, of course, you've got Swindell coming off of a conference championship in his freshman year. So you had two men who really had quite the experience year-round. Swindell's Greyhounds would fall to Ohio State, the eventual national runner-up in that first round, of course, led by third-team All-American Tom Carey, another former New Canaan player. So you're right, a lot of 203 players at the next level. We hope to have more of these college athletes who are home for the summer on with us over the next couple of weeks, but we've got to find a way to fill the void, so we're happy to welcome in Joe Mixie as we're going to shift here from lacrosse and we're going to talk a little baseball. In the Independent League, looking at the Atlantic League, Joe, let's talk about the Bluefish last night. A huge comeback win for the boys from Bridgeport.
Yeah, it's getting down to the wire at Bridgeport, and really Bluefish in contention in first place in the Atlantic League Liberty Division. They went 3-2 last night against York, and 8 games over 500 right now. It's a position that the Bluefish haven't been in a very long time. The way the Atlantic League works is you have 2 halves, so 140 game season, 70 games each half, and Bridgeport right now has clinched a positive record, a winning record in the first half for the first time in any half since the second half of last year, but they haven't done it consecutively since 2011. So it shows where this team has gone. They were really down, finishing halves 24, 35 games under 500, and they've really turned it around. They went 3-2 last night against the Revolution of York, who are about 14 games under 500 in the Freedom Division right now. They're last in the league. York came out, scored an early run in the first. It turned into a pitching duel in the mid-innings between Rainey Lara and Jay Goss, a pitcher who hadn't come in a couple of years due to a dead arm injury, but he comes back and he throws a couple of 1, 2, 3 innings through the second, third, and the fourth. York puts up another run in the fifth, and then Bridgeport put up a run of their own, broke on the scoreboard in the bottom of the fifth, and then Jonathan Galvez, hitting from the 6th spot, hit a RBI double in the 7th, which sent a pair home, and Bridgeport took the lead there. What really showed with this game is they had just come off the road. They went 3-4 in a road trip, including they lost 4 straight right at the tail end of it before picking up a game against Southern Maryland, and they needed to be resilient at home. They're coming into the end of the first half of the season. The last game will be on Monday, so they're going to play York tonight and then through Thursday here at the ballpark at Harbor Yard over in Bridgeport, and then they'll head up to the Hardware City to play New Britain, the Bees, and the Bluefish. So you have a couple of Connecticut matchups, the 2 worst teams in the league, so now's never a better time for Bridgeport to come through than what they did last night.
And that's exactly it, Joe. You're talking about the 2 worst teams by record in both leagues here, or in the league in both divisions. So only 4 games back entering tonight's game of it is Somerset who's in first. So they've got the ability to make this ground up. For those who aren't as familiar with the Patriot League, how does the playoff work now? because you've got this first half of the season, then the second half. What do you have to do to qualify for the postseason?
Well, 8 teams in the Atlantic League, and the way you qualify is they take the 4 winners from each of the first 2 halves. So you have a first half and a second half, and then 4 teams in each division. So if you have 2 different teams win each of the 2 divisions, then you have your 4 playoff teams. If the same team wins both divisions, then it goes to a wild card. And that's really where Bridgeport is probably going to come down to the nitty-gritty, because they have a magic number on their back right now. It's 3. So any number of Bridgeport losses or Somerset wins that amount to 3 in the next 6 games is going to eliminate them from playoff contention and winning the first half. That being said, they're currently leading the race for the wild card, which is the other 6 teams. They scoop them up and they give them their total records. So they're, I think, a game and a half over the Lancaster Barnstormers right now in the lead for the wild card. So say Somerset wins the first and the second half and Bridgeport comes in second, both of them there in the lead for the wild card, they would get that playoff spot. So that's kind of how it works. Sometimes if you have a couple of teams that are tied, they'll have a play-in game, but then the top 4 teams go to the championship series in each of the Freedom Division and the Liberty Division, which is what Bridgeport's in, and then those 2 teams will play for the championship.
I'm sorry, I keep saying Patriot League. I've still got Loyola Lacrosse on the mind. I did mean the Atlantic. Joe, what is it about this year's team that's really been the biggest difference in this turnaround? Because you're right, it has been a disappointing franchise, to say the least, now the past couple of years.
I wouldn't argue with that at all. I think you look at their performances in 2012 through 2015. 2011, they lost in a play-in game, and 2010 was the last time they made the playoffs. And in an 8-team league like that, sometimes it's hard for teams to be that dominant. When you have dominance, a team that's 20 or 30 games over 500, you're going to have a couple of teams that are 20 or 30 games below 500, or you're going to have teams even out. There was a year, I was looking back today, it was 2012, that the team that won the Liberty Division, Southern Maryland, was actually under 500. So you could have a big divide, or you could have teams be pretty close, but Bridgeport's really been on the losing side for the last few years. The difference has been, though, under the leadership of General Manager Paul Herman, they've brought in a lot of guys that have tons of experience. They have great chemistry. They've had their upsides pitching. The hitting has really been the story this year. They're batting .276 as a team. That's 3rd in the league right now. They were leading the league in batting average for the better half of the better part of the first half of the season. They got 3 guys with championship rings, and this is what you have in the Atlantic League, is you have a mix of, former high prospects that never really made it up to the top or only did for a certain amount of time. You have guys that were kind of jobbers in and out of the major leagues and the high ranks of affiliated ball. And then you have some local guys that are trying to get their foot in the door. So that combination of talent is what's bringing Bridgeport together. You have guys like Jonathan Abaladejo, who was on a World Series winning Yankee team, Tony Abreu, who won a title with the Giants back in 2014, as well as, and I'm escaping my name, there's one more ring on that team right now, Manny Del Carmen, that's who it is, the pride of Hyde Park. So he won a ring with the Red Sox. And they've had guys come through. Sean Burrows played many years in the ranks of professional baseball. He's a player coach right now for the Bluefish. David Carpenter, he's leading the league in saves right now, something that they did not have last year. So I'll put this into perspective for you with the pitching. Here's an upside. Carpenter has 22 saves right now. The team total has 25. Last year as a team, I think they had 11.
Wow.
Or something like that. So they were not a team that was putting themselves in the save situations. They finished the first half last year 10 games under 500, and then the second half they were 36-34. That was their first positive record and a half since the second half of 2012. So they just clinched a winning record in the first half, and that's largely in part of them being in save situations. They have a positive record in one-run games. They had a one-run game last night. So you can come through in some of those situations. Yeah, you have your tough spots, but you have a lot of consistency through the lineup. Jonathan Galvez is a player that was on the team last year. Luis Hernandez, I don't know if you've heard of him. He was consistently in and out of the ranks of the major leagues. He was their leadoff hitter, but they made a big trade in acquiring Darby Myers from the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs earlier in the year, and he leads the team in stolen bases. That's another thing. Stolen bases and saves, 2 aspects of the game that Bridgeport did not have last year. And they're slowly picking those statistics up. So there's been a lot of bright spots. Consistency has kind of been an issue. Getting started early in games has been an issue as well. Also errors. This is something that they've struggled with the last, you could say, 5 years. They have the most in the league right now. They have the lowest fielding percentage. But you know what? When high fly balls are being hit out to the outfield and you can throw him in, and even if you have a pitcher that leans more towards contact than Rainey Laura, he did throw 6 strikeouts last night, and they were really able to contain York. And when you're playing the 2 worst teams, there's no better stretch to do it than at the end of the first half when you want to make up some ground.
I mean, you're right. It's a great turnaround, and the moves that the general manager has made has been big. Let me ask you this, though, now, Joe, the success, is it leading to any improvements attendance-wise? Because the ballpark at Harbor Yard for far too long now, and I know, Kevin, you're a huge fan, you were a big supporter in your younger years, and that was a great summer activity, but the ballpark at Harbor Yard has not been close to being filled up in recent years at all.
No, and I think when we look back, even when we were over there a month ago for the FCIAC baseball tournament, it's still a beautiful ballpark, but I agree. I think it's a franchise that needs to start winning again, so you start to see attendance go up, up, and up. Because, you look back, I remember going to games as a kid, and that place was sold out. That was a thing to go to, and now I'm not really sure it is that way. So I think to what Joe is saying is, when they're playing 2 of the worst teams, like right now they're playing the Revolution, they have to beat this team. And listen, Frank, I'm impressed with Joe Mixie. How about the stats? I'm impressed, Joe. Not bad.
Well, in terms of answering the question to attendance, and thank you for the compliment, Kevin, but it's one of the older ballparks in the league. They started in 1998, and Somerset did too. Their stadium, you could say it's a little outdated. You could say it's vintage. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of here nor there. There's always been disputes between the ownership and the city of Bridgeport. They'll be going through something like that probably at the end of this season. They signed an emergency contract after last year. But baseball lives on in Bridgeport for now. The winning is certainly going to help. You go there right now, and any given night, you're going to see 2,000 to 3,000 people at the ballpark at Harbor Yard. They do some great promotions. I know that they have made headlines over the last couple of years, first of all, with their implementation of guest managers. So they're one of the few teams in all of minor league baseball to do that. Last year, we brought in Roger Clemens as well as Jenny Finch, and she was the first woman to ever manage a baseball team in any aspect when she was the guest manager for Bridgeport. They also had Ozzie Guillen, who's a close friend of the manager, Luis Rodriguez, and they had the NWA from the WWE. So they kind of brought a whole plethora of different guest managers in. This year we had a guest manager already from the Barnum Festival, which is an ongoing exploration in Bridgeport to celebrate Bridgeport's heritage. Former Bridgeport team founder, co-founder of the Bridgeport Bluefish, Mickey Herbert's going to be a guest manager. They have a Legends game between Yankees, Red Sox, and Mets legends are going to play against Bridgeport Legends over the All-Star break, which is coming up next week. So the promotion staff does their best to try to get butts in the seats, and I think that winning baseball and bringing guys in last year, and you might have heard about this, Andy Chavez was on the Bluefish, and he may be coming back right now. He's playing in the Mexican League, and he's doing a great job. He won the batting title last year. So, you get some good quality baseball. They're going to have a promotion on the 4th of July, but I definitely think the winning is certainly going to help to that. But you go down there, I love sitting there game after game, and you look out, the ambiance of the stadium. You have 95, and you have the trains passing by. You have the ferry in the background. You have the smokestack out in right field, the big power plant there. So I think the stadium, the whole ambiance of Bridgeport baseball being there embodies Bridgeport and embodies Southern Connecticut. So if you're a real baseball fan, it's definitely a place to be in the summer.
Hey, Joe, how about we get Kevin Millar in there? I know he just hit a home run in his first at-bat with the St. Paul Saints. Can we request to get Kevin Millar on the Bluefish? That was amazing last night.
Well, I'll tell you, that's
45 years old.
That's minor league baseball for you, Kevin.
I know.
It's near and far, all these teams all over the place. You have hundreds of them. You have different leagues. Crazy things are happening. You have players that are young doing great accomplishments and players that are a little bit older still in there. And I'm trying to think of a defining moment like that we've had in the last couple of years. But certainly you have things like that happen, and you never know who's going to come. We've had a lot of players from Venezuela on the Bluefish lately just because our manager is Venezuelan, but they brought a whole lot of character to the ballpark at Harbor Yard. But you can have those former major leaguers that really made a big impact on the MLB come through really any ranks of independent baseball, independent special, because it kind of finds its place in between high AA competitive ball and low AAA competitive ball. So you have guys whose contracts are purchased and they'll go immediately to AAA or to AA, or they'll go to the Mexican League, which is kind of a AAA affiliated ball of the MLB. So you have guys like Ching-Ming Wong that have come through and played in the Atlantic League in the last few years. Willie Upshaw was the manager of the Bluefish back in the day. I believe he was their first manager and then had another stint with them. Tommy John was a manager of the Bluefish at one point. So you have these big names coming through, and it could be very exciting. That's for sure.
It certainly is exciting to see Bridgeport back on the map, and I agree with you, Joe. There is something that's special about the ballpark at Harbor Yard, and I appreciate it's one of the older stadiums with the Bluefish being that inaugural team. But, you know, it still is. I like what they've done associating with two roads and Boar's Head, so you've got the porches out on the foul lines in left and right field. It's always fan-friendly, and it's good that they're back on the rise. So we will definitely keep an eye on them. We love having you around, and clearly you are very well informed, as Kevin pointed out, as to everything there is to know about the Bluefish right now.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the season continues, and it's a full schedule of baseball in the Atlantic League. So they have 140 games, so they're going the end of April all the way to the beginning of September. So it's just game in and game out. You have a lot of baseball to talk about, so I'll look forward to talking about it here on the HAN Network through the duration of my time here in the summer.
All right, well, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to shift focus, get on to some local topics at the high school level that are going on. That's coming up next on the HAN Network's Nutmeg Sports.
At In Sports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The In Sports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
You don't have to go far for authentic Neapolitan cuisine and renowned wood-fire pizza. Pizzeria Loretano of Bethel is a contemporary Italian bistro, specializing in authentic wood-fired brick oven pizza Napolitana. Pizzeria Loretano was named one of America's top 1,000 Italian restaurants in 2008 by Zagat, and recommended by Jane and Michael Stern on National Public Radio's Splendid Table. Located close to the Bethel Cinema, we focus on quality, and our food is always made to order. Join us for live jazz Sundays from 6 to 8. Find our schedule, menu, and more at pizzerialoretano.com, and like us on Facebook.
The new fishing season is fast approaching, so it's time to head over to the dock shop and get your gear in order. We're now offering bait in both Darien and our Westport location. The dock shop can service and repair your rods and reels, spool up new line, and fill any empty space you might have in your tackle box. Whether you're a fisherman, boater, or beach bum, the dock shop is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
Celebrate summer with fresh, made-to-order picnic boxes from Walter Stewart's Market. We have delicious summery selections from buttermilk fried chicken to grilled lemon chicken kebab, grilled shrimp Caesar salad wraps, or lobster salad rolls. Our easy-to-carry picnic boxes come with your choice of a meal, as well as a dessert, beverage, and utensils. Order online for simple pickup options. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and online at stewartsmarket.com.
I can't believe it.
Well, Dad, you did it. You sold 160 cars. Ready to go back upstairs now?
I think it's time. I wonder how the boys are making out in their new office.
Not what I had in mind, Kyle. What, Dad?
Maybe we should retire. Right now, lease a 2017 Rogue S for only $139 a month.
Isn't it time you got Millerized?
Back on the HAN Network, Frank Granito, Kevin Coleman. Do you have thoughts on that opinion I just asked?
That's a great question. I think Chris Paul is certainly a very talented player. I think the Spurs could be a good spot for him. I think there's a lot of good options for him, so I think he's going to really evaluate what his best option would be. I can't see him going to Cleveland or New York, so you can count those two out. But I like San Antonio. I like that idea.
I'm just, I'm a Popovich fan. That's just me. I'm
Who isn't?
I love the Pop. Yeah. But let's take a look at some local stuff going on. Logan Book from Darien High School, the senior, was named the 2017 Player of the Year for the state of Connecticut. And this one really stood out to me because as we went through our coverage of girls lacrosse this season, the FCX, Logan Book, in my opinion, was the most underrated player in the entire state, without a doubt, and you could make a case amongst the nation.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you certainly can. I was about to say that. I think you look through our broadcasts, you look over them again, watch out for number 9 on defense because she has one of the best stick checks, and she'll strip any offensive player in the game, and she was just so dominant that you're right. I think we never really got an opportunity to really give her the notice and the attention she deserved.
Well, it's a thankless position when you think of her playing as a defensive midi, and really much more favorable to the defensive side, but possibly the fastest girl in the conference, so quick and agile. And it was just, you're right, as Coach Lisa Lindley said, she has one of the most legal checks around, can strip any player outright. And once she's in transition, sees the field very well, able to get up, and then a underrated passer as well, being able to find the right players on offense. And really, in my opinion, was the anchor that allowed that transition attack for the Lady Blue Wave to run this year the way they did.
I mean, it's a stacked lineup. So again, you look throughout that roster, and you look throughout, and yes, Logan was so good defensively and was able to, break through defenders, go through that midfield in transition, and dish off to one of the attackmen, whether it's Humphreys or you name it. Just so dominant. One of the big reasons why Darien, again, champions, but Logan Book, again, you look back at what she's done with Darien lacrosse. It's just so much talent there defensively.
And she will continue her career at the next level now, attending the Naval Academy in Annapolis. She will be a midshipman, and I think it's a very appropriate fit when you look at the way she conducted herself on the field this year. Extremely professional, so mature, one of the hardest workers. I don't think that Logan will have any problems finding success at this service academy.
I agree. I think she's very disciplined. I think that's another key thing that you never really saw her commit too many penalties. You see that often at this level, with some defenders, and she was very disciplined. She knew what wasn't a penalty, what wasn't. She was very disciplined on defensive end. That's why she was able to get some clean swipes, some clean steals away from attackmen for the opponent. So again, Logan Book, excellent career, and I really liked what she had to say. And of course, Coach Lindley had wonderful words to say about her defender.
We also want to announce, Kev, that Trumbull has been awarded the honor of hosting the Babe Ruth New England Regional Tournament for the 14 and under division this summer. Tournament will run July 21st through July 26th at Trumbull High School, and the HAN Network is happy to announce we will be there covering those games live. The winner will advance to the Babe Ruth World Series in Glen Allen, Virginia this August. The Trumbull All-Star team, automatically qualifying as a host, will play at 7:30 for the first 4 days of that tournament. There's more on this story at TrumbleTimes.com, but I'm very excited. We did the 13 tournament last year in Stanford. This is where actually we did one of our first video broadcasts back in 2015 before you or I were around. But I'm a huge fan of youth baseball. I was an all-star guy myself. I played baseball all the way through high school. So for us to get back, and it's very competitive, especially at a regional tournament, it's going to be a lot of fun for the network here at the end of the summer.
Oh, I fully agree. It's going to be a lot of fun to broadcast these games, and you'd be surprised. Some of these kids can really play, and you're right. I think you look back for the two of us, looking back throughout our Little League career, and then going to Babe Ruth after that, from majors to Babe Ruth, and you look throughout that process, and there are some studs throughout this level. So it's going to be exciting to watch what these guys do, and I think this level gets overlooked a little bit. You look at, maybe the Little League World Series gets great coverage and, it's some great players. And then automatically you look towards college. And I think you look through this Babe Ruth, there are some really good players here that I think, audiences that are going to watch throughout these couple days on the HAN Network are going to be treated to some great young players that we could see throughout, maybe the high school career, maybe even farther into that.
Well, that again is going to be the 21st through the 26th. We'll have live coverage on the 25th and 26th of the semifinal and championship game. Kev, we're going to step aside one more time on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, Hearst Media continues to roll out their all-star teams. I want to get your opinion on who qualified for this year's girls hockey team. That's coming up next here on the HAN Network.
At In Sports Trumbull, the game is always on inside. Registration is now open for our fitness training programs for high school athletes. The In Sports Performance Center is offering blast speed classes, athletic functional movement assessments, and both men's and women's elite speed and strength training. Our premier programs help bring athletes to the next level. Call 203-268-1214 for more information. Like and follow us on Facebook.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Celebrate summer with fresh made-to-order picnic boxes from Walter Stewart's Market. We have delicious summery selections from buttermilk fried chicken to grilled lemon chicken kebab, grilled shrimp Caesar salad wraps, or lobster salad rolls. Our easy-to-carry picnic boxes come with your choice of a meal, as well as a dessert, beverage, and utensils. Order online for simple pickup options. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, New Canaan, and online at stewartsmarket.com.
The new fishing season is fast approaching, so it's time to head over to the dock shop and get your gear in order. We're now offering bait in both Darien and our Westport location. The dock shop can service and repair your rods and reels, spool up new line, and fill any empty space you might have in your tackle box. Whether you're a fisherman, boater, or beach bum, the dock shop is a unique place to shop. The dock shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
About owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866. If you've ever...
We are back on the HAN Network's Nutmeg Sports. Frank Granito and Kevin Coleman. We're looking over the Hearst Media Girls Hockey All-Star Team as announced by via Hearst Media, and I wanted to talk with you a little bit, Kevin. Some of the names on here, what your thoughts are. I think Cassidy Schiff is a no-brainer. She comes up first for Darien. There are a couple of Blue Wave players, but Kiki Tropsa as well, who had the huge goal in the championship game, and Shea Vanderbrock, who was one of the top scorers all year long in the state. But the big one for me, Player of the Year, Emily Giannunzio. She wins the state championship. It's her 4th one. She was the all-state goalie, first team all-conference, but the one real blemish is the FCX championship where she was outdueled by Jessica Ware.
And that's where it gets a little interesting. I think Giannunzio is well-deserving of this award, great career at Darien. Jessica Ware, I don't think we've seen a freshman do what she did this past winter before. I mean, you talk about how dominant she was. Without her, I don't think Greenwich is winning that FCX championship game. And I think Alex Lurchin was well-deserving of Coach of the Year for Greenwich, and I think they had a great season. I think Jessica Ware, she's well-deserving to be on this list, but I think her and Giannunzio are definitely, neck and neck between, Player of the Year. So, I think it was a great competitive season for girls hockey in the FCX. It's a very close call, but again, there are some great names on this list. You even look at Gianna Bruno for New Canaan. I thought she had a great year too, of course, not only in hockey but in lacrosse as well. So a great list, but again, Jessica Ware, I think we all really enjoyed what the freshman did this past winter.
The name from New Canaan for me, Jess Eccleston, is the one that jumps out. I think Eccleston is going to be one of the best defensemen in the state next year, only a sophomore. This is a tough year for New Canaan. They were rebuilding. She gets them to the FCX semis, and they were just overmatched ultimately versus Greenwich in that game. Stephanie Walsh of SWS, Stanford West Hill Staples, made it as well. Erin Owens, who was the all-state forward and all-FCX player from Trumbull St. Joe's. She's only a sophomore, is going to be very good. I think that Jenny Pietrowski could have potentially been a player you nominate for Player of the Year as a captain of that Greenwich Cardinal team that won the FCX championship. Did such a great job. Courtney Sheets at Fairfield, really good. But one name that there is no debate for me, Coach of the Year, Alex Lurshin of Greenwich.
100%. I think, we got so lucky to be able to cover a couple of their games. He was so good to us. But I thought he did an excellent job, him and his coaching staff, of what they did with this Greenwich Cardinal team. May I add, a young Greenwich Cardinal team that didn't have a lot of experience. You talk about a freshman goalie, Jessica Ware, very talented player, and he really, I thought you could, even when I was on the bench, you could see the chemistry there between the two of them. And you saw how great of a coach he is, but how great of a guy he is as well. So well-deserving, and I think he's really going to do a nice job of bringing back this girls Cardinals hockey program, because what an excellent year they had.
And you're right, it's a Greenwich hockey team that had only one senior on the roster as Amanda Chan, so they bring back almost every piece of this puzzle, where Darien is losing a big chunk of players now. New Canaan will be right there in the mix as well, and Fairfield, not a team that I would sleep on. So girls hockey, I think, is trending up. It's not sanctioned by the CIAC just yet, but they are doing just fine, and it is as competitive as any sport, again, as always, in the FCX.
I agree, and I think that one team next year is going to be Greenwich. I think they're going to have a target on their back as well. They're going to be the defending champs in the FCX, and I think this is a team that, while they're young, I think they've matured. They've learned from what they've went through this season, losing in the semifinals in states, and they'll move on from that, and I think they'll move on to a season where they have high expectations. They expect to get to that FCX final. They expect to get to that state final. So expect to see a very dominant Greenwich Cardinal team next year in girls hockey.
And speaking of the Greenwich Cardinals, let's quickly look ahead to tomorrow's show. We're going to be joined by the head football coach of the Greenwich Cardinals, Johnny Marinelli. We'll get an update on how spring went for the Cardinals, and we're also going to preview next week's Grip It and Rip It passing tournament, which will be held at New Canaan High School's Dunning Field. The HAN Network will be there to cover that. We hope to speak with Mike Buswell of Trumbull Travel Baseball in the upcoming days to get ready for the tournament, the regional Babe Ruth tournament at the end of the month, and we'll also have more college athletes who are back from campus on to join us as well. Kyle Smith, Peter Swindell will have you guys on another time. Kev, final thoughts today?
It's too bad we couldn't get those two guys on, but we look forward to having Swindell and Kyle Smith on in the near future.
For Kevin Coleman, Joe Mitzi, I'm Frank Granito. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Of course, you got Coffee Break at 11 with Kate Chaplensky, only on the HAN Network.